Good morning and welcome to the Sunday School lesson for Sunday, October the 4th, lesson number 5. We're being broadcast from House Production Gospel Blog Talk Radio studios in Beatrice, Alabama, located at 231 6th Avenue, down south here in Beatrice, Alabama. On behalf of Antioch Missionary Baptist Church, which is located at 45 Church Street, Peterman, Tunnel Springs, Alabama, 36471. Our telephone number is 1-251-564-2171. The church where everybody is somebody and Christ is the head. Our pastors, Reverend Whalen Oliver, our First Lady, Sister Joyce Oliver, and our clerk is Ms. Lisa Starwood. We have Sunday school every Sunday morning, normally scheduled at 9:30 a.m., but for the last several months, we've been broadcasting here at various times here on House Production Gospel Blog Talk Radio. And we hope that you will continue to worship with us and study with us. Our worship services on 2nd, 4th, and 5th Sundays, normally at 11 a.m., but they are 8:30 a.m., and they are broadcast from the church parking lot, and the pastor speaks from the church door. And we have been doing that for the last several months due to COVID-19. We thank you for being here with us this morning. It's about 15 minutes after 6, and we hope everything is going well for you. Our prayers goes out to all that are in need of prayer, especially in mind for now, is that the President of the United States, President Donald Trump. Some are praying, some are not praying, but you know what God requires you to do is that you pray for your leaders. We're going to open up, before we get to the Sunday school lesson, with Matthew. This is devotional reading, Matthew the 5th chapter, verses 43 through 48. I think it's very important that we read this today in regards to what is taking place in this country. Love of enemies enjoined. This is Luke, the 6th chapter. It's also in the 27th through the 36th verse, but this is Matthew, the 5th chapter, verses 43 through 48. This is devotional reading, and it is very timely indeed. Ye have heard that it had been said that thou shalt love thy neighbor and hate thine enemy. But I say unto you, love your enemies, bless them that curse you, do good to them that hate you, and pray for them who despitefully use you and persecute you. Verse 45, that ye may be the sons of your Father who is in heaven, for he maketh his sun to rise on the evil and on the good, and sendeth rain on the just and on the unjust. Verse 46, for if you love them who love God, that reward have ye. And again I say, for if you love them who love you, what reward have ye? Do not even the tax collector the same? Verse 47, and if ye greet your brethren only, what do you do more than others? Do not even the heathen so? But be ye therefore perfect, even as your Father who is in heaven is perfect. In other words, our Christian brothers, do what is right. Love your enemies. All right. The lesson for today is love that intercedes. That was devotional reading. We already read that. Background scripture is 1 Samuel, the 19th chapter, verses 1 through 7, the 23rd chapter, verses 1 through 18, and 2 Samuel 9. All right. Let us begin. And Samuel spoke to Jonathan his son and to all his servants that they should kill David. But Jonathan, Saul's son, delighted much in David and Jonathan, and told David, saying, Saul my father seeketh to kill thee. Now therefore I pray thee, take heed to thyself until the morning, and abide in a secret place, and hide thyself. It is always interesting that when people are put upon you, there's always somebody. God has somebody that warns you and looks out for you and tells you what is best to do, and instead of to avoid the danger. That's how God works. He works in mysterious ways. You want to be safe, God will keep you safe when the time you need to be safe. And I will go out and stand beside my Father in the field where thou art, and I will commune with my Father and thee, and what I see that I will tell thee. And Jonathan spoke good of David unto Saul his father. David had a good friend in Jonathan, right? And said unto him, Let not the king sin against his servant, against David, because he hath not sinned against thee, and because his works have been to thee toward every very good. Think about David and what he has been doing with Saul. David has been faithful to Saul. He has played music for Saul. Saul has been going through turmoil and in trouble and mindset, and the music has been able to soothe him at times. But Saul wanted to kill David. And for what reason Saul wanted to kill David? Because Saul was jealous of David. That's just all the truth of it. You know how jealousy is. It goes back to something we were saying in the family, how brothers and sisters be jealous of each other. They can do things that will hurt. You just saw what happened in the previous stories that we've been talking about, okay? All right, let's go to verse number 5. For he did put his life in his hand and slew the Philistines, and the Lord wrought a great salvation for all Israel. Thou sawest it, and didst rejoice. Wherefore wilt thou then sin against innocent blood to slay David without a cause? David has did nothing but good toward you, Saul. This is Jonathan talking to his daddy about Saul, about David rather. Jonathan and David are friends, so Jonathan saw fit to go talk to his daddy about not trying to harm Saul. All right, and let's read the key verse here. This is 1 Samuel, the 19th chapter and the 4th verse. This is the key verse for this lesson. Jonathan spake good of David unto Saul his father, and said unto him, Let not the king sin against his servant, against David, because he has not sinned against thee, and because his works have been to thee toward very good, been toward you very good, Saul. All right, let's go to verse number 6. And Saul hearkened unto the voice of Jonathan, and Saul sware, and the Lord liveth, he shall not be slain. And Jonathan called David, and Jonathan showed him all these things. And Jonathan brought David to Saul, and he was in his presence as in past times. All right. Okay, now, lesson, loves for one another. Love for one another. Inclusive love. Inclusive love. Love that intercedes. Guess who was interceding? Jonathan is interceding with his father for David. Jonathan is interceding with his father for David. Interesting, isn't it? All right. Loves that intercedes. Have you interceded for somebody? Have you stood up in the gap for somebody that needed to be talked to? Have you did what you're supposed to do? Have you? The question is asked, have you interceded for somebody? All right. After participation in this lesson, each listener will be able to summarize Jonathan's defense of David and Saul's reaction. Explain the risk Jonathan faced in the reconciliation process. Identify opportunities to counsel reconciliation, and do so. How about you in your own personal life? What about the opportunities for reconciliation when people have strained relationships and they're separated? Have you interceded for somebody? That's an opportunity for you. It's a good thing to do. All right, the lesson outline. Targeting peacemakers. All right, lesson context, the plot. Samuel 19, the first chapter, verses 1 through 3. Execution order, clemency plan, intercession. exemplary record, rhetoric, question, unlikely friendship, the aftermath, vows, the unbreakable vow, reconciliation, conclusion, roles people play, prayers, thoughts to remember. Powerful lessons here that we got outlined here for you, and we hope that you follow along with us. Targeting peacemakers. Introduction. Targeting peacemakers. All right. What risks do peacemakers face in areas of conflict? A study began in 2010 by the Uppsala Conflict Data Program seeks to answer the question. The fact that such a study exists confirms that the sad truth that we all know. Peacemakers sometimes come to the very violent end. A government that doesn't want outside influences can forcibly remove peaceful humanitarian efforts. One side or another of a military conflict might attack the peacemakers, hoping that the aid they would have given to their opponents will result in victory. One individual who stands opposed to a specific peacemaker can kill that one, hoping the movement will end and with his or her death. Does that remind you anything of Martin Luther King? Does that remind you anything of John F. Kennedy? Does it remind you anything of John F. Kennedy's brother? Does it remind you anything of anybody that is murdered or assassinated? That is a strong force leader of a program or a system. They do it for a reason, to stop it, but sometimes it don't. And the overall big story of killing of a person hoping to stop what he done, what did the Jews, God's own people, and the Romans, and all the people that are Antichrist people do to Jesus Christ? They crucified him, they killed him. And did that stop him? No. It set it ablaze, and it is worldwide now. And it's still spread the word of Jesus Christ. We need not recall conflict in Syria or Sudan or assassination like those of Martin Luther King Jr. or Oscar Romero to realize that peacemakers can be very dangerous business. Peacemaking can be a very dangerous business. There is no guidance that efforts for reconciliation would work, but Jonathan, son of King Saul, believes the risk was worth taking. His actions were an example of all of us who the potential powers of peacemaker. You be a peacemaker. And in fact, God said, bless the peacemaker, right? Two of the Old Testament books of history are 1 and 2 Samuel. They take their names from Samuel, the last judge of Israel. He was instrumental in the transition from the period of the judge to the time of the king. As such, the two books record the transition from the theocracy, when the Lord reigned as sole king of Israel with human leaders in the role of judges, to the monarchy of human being. This transition began before the year 1050 BC. It began with the Israelites demanding that Samuel give them an earthly king like all the other nations. 1 Samuel 18:5. This demand was not primarily a rejection of Samuel or his son, but of the Lord as their king. God so said. God had called Israel to his special nation, Exodus 19:5 and 6, and their desire for a king expressed a wish to be not quite so special. Samuel proclaimed the Lord's warning of the negative consequences of human kings. 1 Samuel. But the people perished, and the people persisted, and the Lord granted their request. Does that remind you anything of what's taking place today in the world today? People demand such things and want such things, such leaders that they believe they want. And when God lets them have those leaders and they persist and consistent on those leaders, God would give them what they want. But God still is going to work his plan regardless of what he allows us to do. The Lord selected Saul as the king of Israel. 1 Samuel 9:17, 10, 17, and 24. Saul started well, but when he failed to carry out faithfully the Lord's command, the Lord selected a different king. Samuel informed Saul of his being